I'd like to just welcome Renee, who's a helper from the Pennsylvania area. And Renee and I did some helper training together way back at Seven Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, why don't we just take a moment and just shift your butt on your seat a little bit, feel your spine move, your neck, find a loose place. Let your head just find a little way back and forth, and then gently close your eyes. Going inside, closing the two eyes, we say, so the third eye can see better. Just let the breath do what it already knows how to do. Let it breathe you freely. All the air you can possibly want is right here. Bring your awareness down to your feet on the floor. And visualize now roots going down from your feet, down through the floor, into the ground, wherever it is beneath the building you're in. Feel those roots going down as far as they want to go. Now visualize some energy coming up through the roots into your feet. The energy of the earth, the real mother from whom all our life comes from. Visualize this energy now like light coming up through the roots, up into your feet, up into your legs, up into your pelvic bowl where all the emotions live. Just visualize that light swirling around that pelvic bowl and whatever emotions are there, lifting them up into the heart, the center of compassionate presence. Whatever your emotions are, it doesn't matter. The heart welcomes them and holds them. Now visualize the sun overhead somewhere out there. Even in the dark of night, its energy, feel it now shining down on you, coming through your crown, swirling around in your head, gathering up all the thoughts of the day. Bringing them down again into the heart, the center of compassionate presence. Take a moment now just to experience these two energies, the light coming up, the sun coming down, meeting in the heart. Just make a note of what this feels like. And remember, it's here, anytime, all the time. When you're ready, take your own sweet time. Bring your eyes back to the screen and see the faces here, other people like you, other travelers on the path. Ready for the next taste of awareness, freedom, liberation. So thank you for coming, everybody, and helping create our Pathwork Village. And we call it that because it takes every one of us. We all have something that we bring to make it work. So what we're going to do now is just have our go around just to say your name and where you are on the planet, and just a couple words about what's going on right now for you, right in the here and now. Anybody can begin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Samara. I am from Toronto, Ontario. 2023 for me has started with a lot of loss. And with that, of course, a lot of growth, a lot of seeing, a lot of facing, and a lot of having to learn how to do things differently. And the topic this evening is going to be very, hopefully, enlightening for me, because I need to figure out how I can surrender into allowing fate in the universe to guide me over the next few weeks to get where I need to go. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Glad you're here.
Pat from Seven Oaks Retreat Center, and I was just reflecting before we started how much love I found in my day. Every now and then you just get a good one, you know? That's where I'm at.
Thank you, Pat.
Hi, Jim from Red Lake, Ontario. Yeah, when I read the word surrender, I think about my children and how often I've had to surrender to things that they do, just to be able to understand where they're coming from.
Welcome, Jim.
Hello, everybody. My name's Judy. I'm from Toronto, Canada. So nice seeing all of these friendly faces on a Monday night. Thanks for leading us, Brian. I'm cautiously optimistic about the topic.
Okay. Welcome, Judy.
I'll go next. I am Mark, and I'm calling in from Dallas. Judy, calling in from Dallas, and the past 24 hours, I have had a lot of clarity. That's been kind of a key issue with me, and it feels very good. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be with everyone.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, I'm Esther Mulroy from Swampscott, Massachusetts. And today we met with, it was really an uplifting day because we met with a wedding planner for my son's upcoming wedding in May. And then I had the opportunity to witness him talk to one of the people that were there and say, Oh, I'm easygoing. I'm good with this. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's just what I would have said. You know, he's like a clone of me, kind of. And, you know, that's not surrender. You know, the person wants to hear. Now I know, and now I understand it. So and I'm not going to criticize, you know, I hope it doesn't sound critical, but it was just an opportunity for me to see how that's not surrender. It's not participating, you know, with what you might want.
Mhm.
So anyway, it was really great to see him though. I really enjoy him.
Glad you're here, Esther.
Okay, well, I'm Renee Watley from Philadelphia. I'm here largely because I give out a lot in the work that I do, and I'm here to be nurtured and take in. And as Brian can tell you from many, many years ago, I ain't good at surrender. So I'm here to open those doors a little bit more for myself.
Mhm.
But I'm here to take it in.
Mhm. Okay, Renee, glad you're here.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kath.
Great. I'm here in Melbourne, Australia. It's 12:15 in midday. Lovely to be tuned in with you today. Right now, I'm at the tail end of a health challenge on the mend, but pretty damn hard in the middle of it a few days ago. And the universe has dropped in a little angel. A visit a young woman I met years ago, a few months ago at a meditation retreat just popped in. And so we're practicing yoga together in the morning out in the garden. And I'm just thankful. She's cooking vegetarian food. So I'm just what I need. So yeah, thankful.
Hi, I'm Kay. I'm in where am I? I'm in Durham, North Carolina. I'm feeling tired tonight, but it was actually a beautiful day here. It was sunny and crisp, and I got out and had a really lovely walk, and I'm really excited about this lecture, and happy to see all you guys too.
Welcome, Kay.
And I'm Frank in Richmond, Virginia. And I think this is going to be a challenging subject for me. So I'm actually here to find out if I surrender more than I think I do. You know?
All right, Frank, you're in the right place.
Yeah. Thanks for taking this on, Brian. It's a pretty difficult one.
Yeah, I understand. I feel my compassion.
I am Catherine in upstate New York. Lately, I've had just a lot of grief washing through me. And I'm having a bit of difficulty right now getting my breath because I tend to be a little too permeable, especially in groups. So but I'm here and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Glad you're here, Catherine. Sheila, you're muted.
I'm Sheila. I'm in Northern Virginia, and been realizing just in the past day that I want to be giving more to life. And I'd kind of come through a very difficult period where I really couldn't give much. I felt like I was just sort of surviving. And now I feel like I'm coming out of that and getting things stabilized. And I've got bandwidth to be giving more. I'm trying to figure out what that's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sheila, welcome. Anybody who hasn't gone yet? I think everybody has. So my name is Brian. I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I'm surrendering to my fear. I'm not going to be up to the task today. I'm also surrendering to my pride that nobody can do this better than me. And I'm sort of caught in the middle of those two. And realizing that neither of them is really doing much for me. So just kind of letting that go. And because this is a pathwork gathering, you're free to speak up at any time. Especially if you're feeling resistance, skepticism, doubt, fear. Not only is that welcome here, it helps open up the space for all of us, because we all have ambivalence. You know, we all have places that longing for and fear of, as the guide keeps reminding us. So, you know, the first thing I want to say is, if the guide is so smart, could the guide not have come up with a better word than surrender, which in the English language, like, what were you thinking, right? And I'm sure we all have some of that recoil just from all the impressing and impressions and patterning and conditioning around surrender. Surrender is what you do when you're beaten, right? When you have nothing else you can do but just give up, right? Yet as I was sitting with, you know, my own complexity around that word, I realized that there's actually some very interesting wisdom in that word, because in the pathwork, most of us have arrived here because we've tried everything else there is to try, right? So there is a part of us that is going, well, I've tried everything, I'm going to try this, right? So what I would like to do is just find out, have an inspiraling, like, hear yourself, share with the group, like, what do you think the guide is talking about when the guide says surrender? What does that mean for you, even if it's just like a concept or something you have sometimes and not others? But let's see what we're all holding here together around that word. Anybody? I mean, let's do it popcorn style. Really invite you to chime in here.
I would say for me, when I think of surrendering, I think of just releasing control and allowing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
For me, it would be trust that the universe is benign and will provide for me.
Okay.
For me, it might be to be easygoing and letting the other person have their way is likable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think of it as accepting the things I can't change.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can change it, I don't want to accept it.
That's something I love about you, Sheila. I do.
I think I have this idealized version of surrender that because various, I think of this dance form I got involved with and I surrendered to it and I loved it, but there was a part of it I didn't agree with. So it wasn't a total surrender. There was always a point that that doesn't sit right with me, that part. And I think that's life. There's something that's not going to fit 100%. So my idealism is to surrender the whole 100%, but I don't think I've encountered that 100% where I have to, maybe that's giving up responsibility. It's like, I don't have to do anything. Everything is easy and flowing. And maybe that's not how it's supposed to be. Just an idea.
Thank you, Kath. It'd be good for everybody to say something, even if it's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, going back to what I said about surrender and my children, just surrendering to the fact that, you can't protect them. They're going to make their own mistakes and you just have to surrender to them. Or else you're going to have a lot of anxiety. Yeah. That's what I think.
Okay, Jim.
Don't really have a full description. Pieces of it I liked. Whoever said allowing, letting go of forcing current, letting go of demands, and just being, allowing whatever is to just be. Well, something else is forming in the back of my head, but it hasn't come quite through yet. There seem to be pieces of it, but not all there yet.
For me, it's been about trying to understand and embrace surrender when I don't understand what I'm surrendering to or what I need to surrender about. It's surrendering to the whole process of surrendering. It's surrendering to surrendering. And just trying to wipe the slate clean by surrender. That's it.
I like that, Mark. Surrendering to surrendering. That's a keeper.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mark. That was really good. So I think your question was, what do I think the guide means by surrender? And
what's the invitation, that you're feeling?
Okay, so I have a lot of resistance to it. The guide says we need to surrender to the will of God, and I'm just not clear enough in my God image to know that that's a safe thing to do. So I still have a lot of resistance to surrendering because of my history of submission. So it's still too intertwined for me to say, yeah, I feel uncomfortable and I'm going to do it. I'm not ready to do it yet.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, you put your finger on the line that I always struggle with, Judy, because of my own God images, right? My own religious wounding as a recovering Catholic. Like, my initial response to that word, the G word, is it's something out there watching me and judging me, right? Even though I have now a personal experience of it being something very different. It's, for some of us, it's just difficult. I want to make room for that here. So let me just do this. Anybody who feels an attraction to surrendering just raise your hand for a moment, just so I can see. Let's see here. Any you feel an attraction? Like, well, I'd like to do that. Okay. Anybody who feels some skepticism, like, let me see it in writing first, right? Like, what am I surrendering to, right? Okay. All right. Well, we want to make room for that here. That's just an honest part of being a human being, right? Like, we all here have been in path work for different amounts of time, some for many years, and we know, like, it's a process, right? It's not something that we just do one day and then go on to something else, right? So as I've been sitting with the invitation from the guide to surrender, when we take in a lecture, there's the specific things in the lecture the guide is talking about that are speaking to our mind, and also though to our heart and our soul. There's an energy in the words. Yet my own growing understanding is that in each lecture, there's a deep invitation to keep rediscovering who we really are in this form of the human body, right? Like that the deeper reality is we're not just an accident, right? We're not just something that happened. That each of us is an essential part of a plan, a divine plan of salvation, plan of transformation that's way beyond our own personal struggles, own personal disappointments, sadness, heartache, accomplishments, joys, right? So what I'd like to share from my own growing experience of surrender is it's an invitation to realize who we are, really, with all of heaven and earth at our back, right? With all the grace that we could ever need to turn to what that daily presentation of the nitty-gritty is in our life. That as human beings, we often start to think this is something I have to get through so I can get on with my spiritual work, right? It's something about the human mind and often gets sort of in a rut with the day-to-day and bounces along at a lower level of awareness that we have when we're actually taking in a lecture or when we're sharing in a forum like this. So I want to say that the way I understand surrender, it's an invitation to let go of all our doubts, our fears, our skepticism, our disbelief, and just reach out and turn the doorknob and open it and let the grace come in and do what the grace knows how to do. Okay. Wow, well, that sounds very inviting, yet remember, we have a dualistic consciousness. We have a mind that all it knows how to do is stay in control. Right? And it's very skillful at keeping us from reaching and turning that doorknob by saying, well, you don't know what's really behind that. And, you know, it sounds pretty good, but watch out, right? So that's precisely why we want to make room for the resistance that comes up around surrender. Because it's not something to be overcome, it's something to be understood. So we each have a very specific form of resistance to surrender, because we're each here on a one-of-a-kind incarnatory journey, right? So as we're sharing here, to you know, be kind to your resistance and understanding, and speak up for it at any time. So just to really make it really clear, the way I understand what surrender is realizing that we're spiritual beings in this human form, right? And to keep remembering that as human beings, we keep forgetting that. Right? We start doubting it. We start drifting away from that. And part of the process of surrender that Guide's inviting us to do is to keep turning towards the blocks, the doubt, the pain, the patterns, the conditioning, and find a way that really we're the only ones that know what this part of us that doesn't want to surrender is dealing with, right? Like the spiritual being in us has been there from the very beginning. It's seen everything, right? So really, the surrender is this ongoing process of wherever we are in the moment, right? Of the day, of the night, and we're feeling the dryness of our experience. And feeling the suffering of disconnection, of loneliness, of isolation, of exclusion, right? That the surrender is remembering to turn to the spiritual self and say, help me. I want you to help me. I'm listening. I'll listen. And it's that commitment that when the guide has told us in many of the lectures, the moment we make a commitment, there's an immediate influx of grace, right? Of energy. So I'm going to pause here and see, you know, what anybody has to ask or share or express around this.
That's the big word, commitment. So you make a commitment, then you're, you know, okay, well, what do I have to do now? You know?
And listen, the commitment is to turn to the spiritual self, the real self, right? The guide says in other lectures, shifting our identification to the spiritual self, right? Which takes a conscious act, because the nature of our humble humanity is we start turning into these little mindless automatons, sort of just lurching through our day, right? Like, got to get this done, got to get the laundry folded, you know, got to get the bathroom clean, got to go to work, right? Got to read that pathwork lecture, right? Like does that help, Jim?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have resistance to it. Commitment is, I don't know. It's kind of a trigger for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, You see, this is what we're really inviting ourselves to do here, is to really observe and accept with kindness and compassion our unique stuck places on this journey, right? Because the spiritual side does not have a problem with anything. The human side has a problem with pretty much everything, right? So what I'm offering here is just another way of saying is that surrender is surrendering to who you really are instead of who you think you are, who you've been taught you are, right? And that's no small thing. I mean,
Taking the idea of surrendering to God out of the equation, that sounds like something I do every day. This definition you just gave us, this idea of being present with what I'm feeling, allowing what I'm feeling, being interested in being honest with myself and my emotions, and living from a place of authenticity. This, I think I do. I don't know if I would consider that surrender, and it's a lot safer than surrendering to God.
right.
For me.
Well, Judy, because I'm blessed to know you the way I do, I know this about you. You're a real path worker, right? Yet, notice that how you sort of left out the most important part, which is turning to the God in you, the spiritual being that you are, right? It's not God out there, right?
Right, because that's it. You see how powerful this image is inside of me. I do it as a default without even seeing it. So thank you for pointing it out to me. Yeah.
So what we're considering here is that we often think of the surrender in the pathwork sense of surrendering to something out there coming in, and there's that too. There's both, right? Yet what I'm drawn to in this inquiry, this inspiraling tonight, is what we overlook, the surrender to what's already here, right? The real self, the higher self, right? That, and I love how the guide talks about the real self. The real self knows just what to say at any moment, knows just what not to say, knows just what to do, knows just what not to do, right? Knows when to be active, knows when to be receptive. Mobility and relaxation, right? From one moment to the next.
And as you say that, I was thinking, I have no idea how to surrender to who I really am because I don't fucking know myself. Sorry for my bad word, but I don't know myself. I know what I'm programmed to be. I know who I was designed to become. There are parts of me that I believe this is who I truly am at heart. But then when I assess it, it's who I was designed to be, but I believe and love the certain parts of what I was programmed into so much that I think it's who I am.
Yeah.
So what do I surrender to? I got voices yapping off in my head 24/7, and they ain't all my higher self. I'm pretty sure that is a true fact. I would say more often than not, it's my lower self trying to confuse the bejeepers out of me. So it's hard to allow myself to surrender to certain things. In some ways, I'll be able to say, I have no fear that it will all work out exactly how it's supposed to work out. But then as I'm saying that, I'm like, okay, but when the hell is it going to happen? Because I only got so much time and I got to do something. Right. And that control factor takes over. Like, if I don't know where that, I got 30 days. And if in those 30 days, I can't be patient till the 30th day. Because by the 30th day, I have to have my answer. I have to have my structure. I have to have, otherwise I'm, in turmoil for not just me, but for all those who count on me.
Yeah.
And I got to sit here and say, I have no fear and I completely have faith and everything's going to work out. And I surrender to the idea that God's got me and the universe has me and it's holding me. And Judy says it well. I don't feel safe saying I surrender, even though my logical mind is saying it.
Yeah.
My lower self is like, you lying piece of whatever. Like, that ain't gonna happen.
I hear her. It's almost sounds like what she's talking about is like if she could find that place of surrender to God, she'd be like in some spiritual bypass.
Right.
And she wouldn't actually be surrendering to the imperfections of her humanity, which is kind of like, where I'm at a lot of the times. It's like I have a hard time surrendering to my imperfections.
Right. Yeah.
But this is my predicament. I'm a human being.
And in this idea that as I'm surrendering, I am unintentionally being controlled by other humans, not just the universe or my path. Other humans are taking control of the trajectory in which my life is going to take because I'm lost in what the word surrender really means. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to sit back and let God.
Right.
Well, as I'm sitting back and letting God, everybody else making these decisions and choices, and I'm like, yo, talk to me. Hello, show me something, because as I'm sitting, like, now I'm frantic. I'm thinking it. And then I'm thinking, what the heck am I surrendering for? I need to grab it and take control of it again, because if I don't get a hold of it, right, I'm a little stressed. Right? If I'm leaving other individuals in control of my future, right? Is that surrender or is that just stupid?
Right. So Tamara, I really appreciate your honesty here around what you're dealing with and the energy that's in it. There's aliveness here in you, right? And I just want to share my deep faith that the next step and the one after that and the one after that, the one right in front of you right now, the one that got you here, the one that said it's safe to just be who you are here with these people, right? That these all are essential parts of your process of moving through what you're describing at your own authentic pace. If we stay with it, the results come. The one specific thing I can say to all of us around, how do I know to trust a voice that I'm hearing? That there's just a dead giveaway if you can trust it or not. It's the energy in it. If the voice is kind, understanding, patient, gentle, you can trust it. Right? That's the voice of the real self. Is there any impatience in it, or criticism, or judgment? Right? You can be skeptical. Really, what many of us are struggling for in our path is to overcome what most humans have, which is a fundamental sense of unworthiness. Right? So we have a lot of self-judgment that we've accumulated, and it thinks it owns the place in our head, right? So Tamara, if I could say one more thing, did anything I say rub you the wrong way, or did you feel talked down to, or?
Absolutely not, Brian.
Right.
You are an incredible,
Okay.
compassionate soul.
So, you know, what I love about being on a spiritual path is it's just always learning something new, right? So recently I've been fascinated by Gnosticism, which is a early part of the time after Jesus had come and gone, right? And they have this phrase where they talk about transformational knowledge. What that means is there's something, if you know it, if you really just say, I'm going to act as if this is true, it can change your life. Right? Not all at once. It's not like a magic wand, but it brings in a new opening. So what I want to offer here is consider the transformational knowledge that, remember, I'm a spiritual being on an incarnatory journey. Remember, this is a key part of the path work. Like, I came down into this world of duality out of love. And everything that you described in your struggle is part of what you brought down here out of love to transform, right? Yet, you know, on the spiritual level, before we come here, it's like a very small part of us. They hardly notice it. The guide says it's a speck on the gown of being. Yet, those of us that are here in human form, at some point we said, it's just a speck, but I want to heal it. So we come down to this world of duality where now it's an elephant standing on our chest. So just to lay that in there, that the help is here somewhere, you know. The very help I need, I'm saying this for myself and for each one of us here, the very specific help I need is right here, right now. That's what we're surrendering to. Right? Yet, you know, there are obstacles to that surrender because we're caught up in the struggle. It sounds like some spiritual psychobabble at times, right? Let's see who else wants to say something, share something here. Like, surrender to letting your voice be heard.
I realize I'm sort of tired. I'm tired and I'm not sure if I can even coherently say anything, but I'm just going to open my mouth and see what comes out. And so kind of riffing off the God thing, I've realized that I've spent pretty much my entire life just with a tight death grip on life, trying to protect myself from a God that I was taught that would condemn people to burn in hell for all eternity. And my thought was, God, I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. And so, you know, how can this, whatever it is, do that? And I guess the gift of the pandemic for me has been because of certain circumstances, I've been pretty isolated, and it's caused me to slow down and to really, in the slowing down, to really get how exhausting it is to have a tight death grip on life, and to question whether I wanted to continue to do that, and also to question whether or not that belief that God sentences people and condemns them to burn in hell forever and ever, amen, is actually true. And I've decided that was something that I was taught that doesn't resonate with me. And I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to control everything, and I recognize that it's actually kind of funny now to think, that this little myopic view would have enough information to make the kinds of decisions that I've been trying to make anyway. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more I could say, but I don't want to take up the whole rest of the session.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I really like the death grip thing. That really resonates with me. And I was trying to picture, it's like, what is on the other side of this wall that I'm so afraid of, that I have to hang on to so tight. And I think if the wall is the word surrender, really most likely what's on the other side is grace. And that's kind of how I like to think. It's like I'd like to have the hope that just beyond my ability to visualize what is good for me next in the midst of the things that I'm going through, there's actually something right on the other side of that thin wall that I can just open up my peripheral enough that maybe I can catch a small glimpse of it. And in that respect, the word surrender is very inviting, because it's like, even if I can just tiny bit surrender, I might be able to take in a little bit of grace. And yeah, that's about the only way I can use that word.
Beautiful.
So what we're hearing is authentic human energy that doesn't trust surrender, right? Like that's part of our humanity package. We want to get the results first before doing the surrender. Show me the goods first, right? So what the guide invites us to do is look at where this is coming from in us, our resistance, right? It's coming from the ego mind. The only thing it understands is control. The thing it fears most is loss of control.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
For me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You're always taught, you have to fight. You never give up, and so when you're in that mindset, when it comes to surrendering, and then you basically have to have the courage to say, I can do this. This is something I can do. And courage.
Right.
As we're talking about it now, it seems that the mass image around surrender has to do with loss, as opposed to the possibility of what one gains through surrendering. I mean, I really like the notion of the possibility of grace comes through surrendering.
Mhm.
Openness comes through surrendering. You know, what do we get as opposed to what do we lose? As we're talking about it, that thought came to me. Yeah, because why bother? You know, if there's not some movement towards something that feels inviting, good, meaningful, what do we gain through surrender as opposed to what do we lose? We lose some level of control, yes.
Right.
But control of what and control why? You know, all of that. But that was just a thought that just ran through my head that I'm just sitting with. You know? Because the implicit assumption is we're going to lose something, seemingly, as opposed to gaining something.
Yeah.
Gaining our real self, gaining authenticity, gaining truth, gaining love. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Renee, especially around the grace. And you know, my what really brought me to this place to bring today is surrender is often seen like a general kind of thing, right? Surrender, yeah, to the universe, to life. But the nitty gritty, the way I see it, is surrendering to our real self, our higher self, our divine self that only means us well. That's exquisitely wise about our very specific circumstances because it knows everything. It's been there all along, right? And here's why I'm bringing it today, because if we see how skeptical and resistant we are to this, it motivates us to be curious. Like, what's behind us, really? I mean, like, the hand is reaching out to me with all the help I could ever want, and I'm kind of looking at it like, well, I don't know, right? Well, one piece is what I said earlier. Our mind, our individual consciousness, only understands being in control. Even if it brings suffering, it would rather stay in control because it's the only thing it knows, right? So from this place of our cognitive function, our mind, right, we're not going to surrender without something deeper, which is faith. Faith that the universe is benign, but life only means me well, no matter what the circumstances are. It's not about everything going my way, right? That everything that happens, everything that occurs has the seed in it of my transformation, the possibility of my transformation. So that takes cultivation. That's a word the guide uses often in the lectures. It's something we need to keep coming back to. Help me grow my faith. I want to grow my faith. You know, the positive intentionality, that's our human superpower. There's another part, though, that's really pretty tricky, which is our humble humanity is afraid of what it might have to give up, right? To surrender to the very thing that could transform our lives and create a flow of abundance, right? Even though we'll still be struggling, that feeling like, okay, I'm going to get up and do it again. I got more to uncover and discover, right? So what about this particular piece? Like, the human being says, I'm going to have to give up something. I don't want to give up something. Another flavor of that is, if it's good for me, it's going to be hard. You know, there's this kind of this package in here. You see how we're wanting to really get smart about our own resistance, break it down into the little Lego pieces so that we can look at each one instead of just the whole creation, right? Negative creation of our resistance.
Brian, can I make a comment?
Please.
So I really appreciate everybody sharing. And I think what is happening with me is I'm realizing just the deep negative connotations that I have, even to just the word surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's pathwork related or pathwork work or just non-pathwork work, just the word surrender. And Renee said something about mass images. And like what's immediately coming to my mind is growing up as a kid. My father was in the military, so I grew up on military Air Force bases. And I think you did too, Brian, didn't you?
Yeah.
And so we would play with the other kids, you know, on base. And when I was in Boy Scouts, all the other Boy Scout kids were military dependents as well. And you play games as a kid, and when whatever game it is, surrendering was always like the losing.
Right.
When you were surrendering, you lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking now about how rich it would be to really kind of go back into those feelings and those images and those memories to see all the negative connotations that I put up around that word,
Mm-hmm.
and that I've carried into my adult life right now today without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something, and I wrote it down much earlier, and I think I wrote it down correctly. You said, surrender is a reminder to turn to the spiritual self.
That's right.
And I've kept looking at the sentence, and I'm realizing that there's like, I have feelings and beliefs that spiritual self is good, surrender bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I have negative connotations over the process to get to something good. And so, I mean, it's giving me all these light bulb moments about how I can reclaim surrender and purify all these negative connotations that I have, that I've carried through from my childhood and probably previous lives,
Mm-hmm.
and make the whole concept and knee-jerk reactions to surrender to be good, like belief in the word surrender being good, and the whole concept behind surrender being good.
Mm-hmm.
And that the whole concept of surrender as a portal into something that is so good, which is the spiritual self and connection to God and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to discuss that, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for everybody's speaking about this, because this has really led me to really see very clearly now that I did not have, and a little bit more than an hour ago, about just how totally unconscious how I have had such a negative feelings and negative connotations towards just the word surrender in whatever context it is, pathwork or non-pathwork. So
Right. Thank you, Mark.
thank you everyone.
Very helpful. So let me offer two different phrases than that S word. Right? The first is, remember who you really are. a spiritual being on an incarnatory journey, with all of heaven and all of earth at your back, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter how great the challenge. And the second part of that is you can trust life. You can trust life. Whatever it is that is showing up is the raw material for transformation. That's what makes it trustworthy, right? So I have an exercise to do, yet I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to speak first. We've got enough time. See what, this has been a rich and spiraling, and I want to make sure if you have a piece that.
I want to pipe up about something.
Yeah.
I think that learning to surrender to my emotions has been probably the single most valuable thing I've gotten out of pathwork.
Wow.
And I mean, I was raised in a family where there was heavy shame about crying. My father really only wanted boys. Instead, he got 5 girls. And he decided he would kind of raise us like boys because he really wanted boys. He really thought boys would be better. And so I had to stop crying like when I was like 12, you know, like I just thought that was a very, very shameful thing to do. And to starting maybe 20 years ago, I was at the point on my path where I was really facing that shame about, being able to cry, even when I was alone. And I feel like I can say now, I feel like I'm pretty good at crying. I mean, I think I'm a master, actually. It's there's almost kind of an orgasmic quality to it of allowing it to sweep over you and kind of take you away. And then, I mean, what comes out on the other side is always really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's never, like the guy says, it's never a dark tunnel with no light at the end. It's always, there's always light at the end. And then you finally allow those storms to, your chest is heaving and, the snot is running and everything. But when that's all over, it's like I've expelled a poison is how it feels to me. So I just feel so grateful that I learned that form of surrender. And that turned out to be, I mean, it was hard, but I'm really glad I learned it.
I want what she's having. Okay. Anyone else before we?
I just, if I could quickly, Brian, I just want to say how at least in my upbringing, the fact that my sex played a big role in how I was taught surrender should look. Like, as a girl, surrender was more like submission. And perhaps as a boy, Mark was telling a great story, maybe surrender was more of a defeat. And so, I think it has to, these big archetypal ideas of sex and gender roles and this normative behavior, at least in my experience, is really colors my my flavor of surrender.
Thank you, Judy.
Hi, I guess for me, I'm just trying to discern where surrender fits in because it just feels like life, you know, like being present with what is. I'm very, very tired. I'm very, very tired tonight, so I've kind of just been absorbing this. And I forget what I was going to say earlier, but it's like being in the flow of life, allowing our limitations, being curious about them, knowing that they're here to show us something. You know, and the wisdom in that. So it really feels like I'm just talking about presence, Brian, you know, presence and curiosity and the witness ask experience kind of experience. But couldn't that just be surrender?
Well, you're feeling into your own version of it here, right?
Yeah.
So Frank, you know, I'm going to ask you if there's any new wrinkle here for you. Like Frank will be the last man standing. Right?
A new wrinkle? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still stuck on surrendering to the imperfections of my humanity.
Well, you see, those are not the issue. It's the absence of your divinity alongside it, right?
Well,
The felt sense, the personal relationship with that side of yourself.
well, you say that, but I honestly, I think that if I could surrender to my humanity, that my divinity would show up automatically.
Yeah. Well, whatever your frustrations are, whatever any of our frustrations are, our struggles, our impasse, right? That's exactly precisely where the spiritual self has the answer. Mostly in the form of energy, right?
Yeah.
We're feeling seen and honored for what we're going through, no matter how hard it is. So let's try something together. Just shift again for a moment in your seat and feel your feet on the floor. Yeah. Invite you to go inside. And just like before, just let the breath do what the breath knows how to do on its own. And just take a few moments of this stillness and let any thoughts go. Just let them go. And now let some issue you are facing in life rise up in front of you. Let the issue fully present itself in your thoughts, emotions, where you struggle, feel stuck, frustrated, overwhelmed, helpless even. Just notice how much energy is tied up in here. Maybe even to the point of apathy, giving up. Let yourself say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Can you hear the frustration in this statement? Can you feel the demand coming from the personality that's insisting you figure it out? That you should know what to do. Now say the same phrase again. I don't know what to do, yet in a different way, as a simple statement of fact. I don't know what to do. Say it as if this is a noble and worthy predicament for any human being. At times, we truly don't know what to do and seem unable, feel stuck, blame ourselves, others, life, etc. As you say in this new way, I don't know what to do. Let all the thoughts go. Just be quiet and still for a few moments. Now say to deeper parts of you than the mind, help me know. Do this in as pure-hearted a way as you possibly can. Help me know. And then just listen. Let go of the need for an immediate answer. It will come on its own if we just practice this over and over. Sometimes, though very rarely, the answer will arrive like an arrow hitting our front door. Much more often, it just arrives quietly, like a felt sense. Whatever the issue in life that you are facing, this simple practice will open portals to your real self, your inner knowing that the mind simply can't create on its own. So we all have our own personal process, right? Our own journey of transformation. Yet what happens here is we're doing it together, right? And there's this additional flow of grace that comes with that. Right? Just being here with others, not knowing what to do, wanting to know, willing to listen, struggling with resistance. Trying to remember who we really are. And that the universe actually is benign. Life only means us well. Right? And the blessing for us here is that in what we witnessed tonight, when people spoke and shared, and I shake something loose inside of us, right? We know we're not uniquely defective, right? And others sharing our humble humanity. So as we come in for a landing, I invite you to take yourself off mute. Go ahead and unmute yourself and you just look at the faces on the screen and brothers and sisters, right? And fellow travelers. And just feel your hands come up and just wanting to give a blessing. Maybe there's some way you want to say it. Like, I'm here with you. Keep it up. Hang in there. You're beautiful.
Woohoo!
It's going to be okay.
I love you guys.
Okay.
Hear about you.
I see you.
Yeah.
Mm,
You made it this far. That was the hard part. Just getting this far was the hardest part. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making the village.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brian.
everyone.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Nice to
you.
see you all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And thank you.
Good night.
Great night, everybody.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank you, Brian.
Until now. Until. Good night, Jim.